Having a lovely evening. I can only hope. Just tell me you will
When a Jamaican joint has rude employees, That Jamaican food gonna be fire. When Jeff Coffin is on soprano sax, that song about to be fire. What up? What up? It's your boy Conserviz34. Thank you guys for tuning in to the DMB wrap up show. We're gonna wrap this year up, put a bow on top, and go over some of the things that we saw this year, that we experienced this year. And thank you guys so much for all the support this year. And thank you guys for watching some of these multi cams. I know I put a couple of them together for Mohegan, and we did night 2 first, night 1. Obviously, SPAC night 1, Guilford nights 1 and 2, Hartford, Mansfield, SPAC night 2 at some point. I hope to get out next year. MSG night 2 will be out. Perhaps MSG night 1 if there is enough footage. So stay tuned at the beginning of 2024. The feedback has been great. The impact of these videos, people just all across the board messaging me, posting stuff about how these Fridays have been great, is just a great feeling, because this music, these multi-cams that I saw 10, 11, 12 years ago are why I'm a fan. So the fact that people are enjoying some of this stuff that without fans would not be possible. You know, I got a lot of people that gave me a lot of great footage. So thank you guys for supporting the multi cams, and more on the way. Because at this point, you see, there's not a lot in the way of DMB. Listen, I hope, my goal is that somewhere over the rainbow, DMB will have what Fish has and Goose has, and they'll have a Nugs contract or their own live Fish. I just, it doesn't seem like that's happening anytime soon. So, but I hope that I'm wrong. And the day that they have that, I will gladly let them do their thing and pay for these streams instead of making these multi cams. But let's go ahead. We're going to get a PowerPoint up here. Let's see. All right, so let's move this up. This is the DMB wrap up show. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my buddy Zach to go through this with me. After that, after we go through this, we'll bring in, we have some people in the background. We got Connor and John that we'll bring in as well. And maybe we'll get a couple more people on. But I wanted to go over this with Zach. Zach went to a bunch of the shows. He taped a bunch of the shows and put up what he could in the midst of a crazy run of shows throughout the summer and fall tours. And want to thank him for that. Let's bring this down so people can see. All right. All right, let's go like this. All right, I'm gonna bring on Zach here, and let me just mute everything so there's no re-echo. Zach, how you doing?
Happy New Year's, Marcus. How we doing?
Happy New Year. So I'm gonna run through this, and any insight or thoughts you have, feel free to chime in here.
Sounds good.
So let's see here. All right, so we're gonna look at a couple of things. We're gonna look at song stats, new album songs, song tricks and fakes, song of the year, show of the year, and then some New Year's resolutions. I do recommend we're not going to cover everything here tonight, but there are some other great podcasts and things that have done their own wrap ups. Yeah, the pod that Jane likes. You do have the was it the corner of Gray Street, and then you do have the space between podcasts. These are and there's some other ones out there too that are going to bring some various perspectives of the year. I wanted to start off here just by having this overview of the year. And 2023 showcased the potential of the band in this 2018 to present. I call it the Buddy Strong era. One thing that stood out to me about this version of the band is this was a year where they actually made adjustments that I did not see in 2018 when Come Tomorrow came out. They have great self-awareness of what crowd they're playing to, and they play to that crowd. The other thing that impresses me is even if a crowd is extremely casual, MSG Night 2, they play Captain, even though, listen, MSG is a lot of diehards went, but Captain was played, and not everyone was crazy about Captain at MSG, but they still played it. Virginia in the Rain, which we'll get to later in this, was a song that not everyone was happy about for the summer nights where you want those upbeat songs. They did not care. Now, some people will say they shouldn't have opened with that, but they still played that song. And that's a song that I've mentioned to you guys has a connection to my family, which is from Virginia, in a moment I had paying respects to someone who passed away during the pandemic, a cousin of mine. And he was 87, but we had a connection. And the day I saw him or pay respects to his gravestone, it rained, a thunderstorm came, and it never rained the rest of the time I was there. So I just respect how the band gave a lot of hardcore fans some special moments, and they just played songs that they just wanted to play, like Virginia in the Rain. Now, July 2023 will go down as one of the best months in this band's history in the post-Roy era. You could even argue that it is the best month, depending on how you look at some of the Caravan tours and some other stretches. And this band gave us setlist variety, unique jams, and a lot of guest appearances that really you could go to a couple shows throughout the the Jersey run and parts of SPAC, and you could catch one or two guests or three or four guests, Guilford and other places too. So they gave us a lot there. What's your overview of this year, Zach?
I think kind of going on what you're talking about with this being the Buddy era, starting from 2018 further. I think everybody kind of remembers when 2018 and 2019 were going on, the band was still kind of trying to find its footing after losing Boyd and trying to figure out where Buddy kind of fit in and where it was best to use him. And they were coming off of a fairly mediocre album. I mean, overall, the critics weren't too thrilled about it. The band itself didn't seem too thrilled about a lot of Come Tomorrow. And then when we came to those first two shows in 2020, the band kind of had this really interesting light to it, but unfortunately, we didn't get to see what the summer of 2020 was going to be because of the pandemic. But certainly, the Vegas and Tempe shows were two of the most wild one off gigs that you could imagine. And then once we kind of entered this post pandemic uh, touring era, we just saw year after year this band getting better and better, with a little bit of a slump occurring in the fall of 2022, but then showing that the band could go really strong into 2023. I do 100% agree that you could probably argue that July of this year, or even if you want to extend it out a little bit, I would say probably from Pine Knob through the end of July, was probably some of the best, most solid DMB performances that they have done in well over the past decade, if not a little bit further than that. I mean, there's been arguments about this being better than, early 2005, 2006. I mean, we're talking going back there. Overall, the band really showed a lot of versatility this summer, and then they brought that versatility back into the fall and really kind of ended the year on a strong note before kind of going and giving some South African fans a treat.
Yeah, well said. And we're going to be doing a lot of looking back to how 2023 fared to last year and how 2023 fared to that 2018 year with Come Tomorrow. All right, so we have some song stats here. Some of these you may have seen, some of you guys may have not seen these. This is the unique songs played per tour, and this is the top 5. The summer of 2023, you include Mexico in this, the full band Mexico. You have 126 unique songs. The next closest is the 2021 run, where you have that summer and mini fall at 120. And then you have to go back to 2015 at 116. 2022 had 111. And then summer 2013 is 110. And even just that growth from 2022 to 2023 is a very large jump from there from year over year. All right, and we have here, we went essentially 2.5 shows without a repeated song for the start of the 2023 fall tour. As this is live, Fish is in Madison Square Garden. I got my Fish MSG from the April of 21 rescheduled Fish run, and I've never had this feeling for a DMB tour like I did this past fall. I've just gotten into Fish. I've been into some other jam bands like Humphreys McGee, String Cheeses, where you literally know you show up on a Sunday, you show up on a Tuesday. Doesn't matter when you're showing up. There's going to be a lot of unique songs that only that venue gets. And for String Cheese, they don't play Connecticut that much, but they came to Connecticut and played some songs they hadn't played in a while. This is exactly what the fall tour brought. This is a great example. What was it like being there, Zach, for these shows in the fall and really seeing the unique sets?
I will say fall was a very unique feeling overall. I think that's probably the way that I would best describe that entire fall run. I mean, I remember going through with Savannah, and Savannah was an okay set list. It was better than I expected. And then seeing that the band was going through and watching the set list keep on going through Greenville and saying, oh, they're not repeating anything from Savannah. That was the first instinct that I was like, okay, there's something different. Something's going on for this tour. And overall, the band just did a really good job of learning from their mistakes in 2022. And I think that they learned that there was more fan engagement from putting out quality, unique, fun set lists than putting these cookie cutter little mini festival sets all across the West Coast. And they did a really good job about pacing, giving good variety, and letting different band members show their capabilities through each of those picks.
Yeah, and just to give you guys some context, there was only one "Don't Drink the Water" for the fall.
Yeah, that was
That's
a
just as
that was at Greenville, if I remember correctly.
yeah. So you had just as many last stops as you had "Don't Drink the Waters." You had three Jimmy things. I did not see Jimmy thing the entire tour, going to Mohegan twice and going to MSG night two. I did not see Bayou, which you guys know I like to avoid. There was only one Christmas song. You know, you go to MSG, you don't get Christmas song. You go to Siva, you don't get it. Where to get it? Mohegan, right? There were two spoons, which means there were twice as many spoons and two you never knows. So even with the rarity of some heavy staples like "Don't Drink the Water," you got a couple of spoons, a couple of you never knows. You had two steps, and that just makes it. You know, that's when's the last time there's been one "Don't Drink the Water" in a tour.
It's
That
definitely
you know
low.
that's yeah. And here's the thing, other thing, two Cry Freedoms. So even with the all right, we're not going to repeat a lot of stuff. There were two Cry Freedoms for this tour.
I mean, even
And
if
three,
you talk
yeah,
raw percentage wise, you're talking two, four, six, eight. You're talking a quarter of the shows had spoons, and they had spoons as openers. That's
yep,
crazy.
yeah. So those are just some of the fall tour really had a special, distinct difference in a good way this year. Where last year you really had the fact that you had to wait till the last show of the tour last year of the fall tour to get Pig. It was just like, wait, what? Like how does it, come on, you should, but in the concerns with, that Vancouver show, the attendance, and just some of the set list, this is the exact opposite in the sense, and this is just another thing. We'll get to shock and awe and surprises, but I don't think anyone expected the band to do this. Maybe you come in hoping that they're gonna have a Derek Trucks guest or a Bella Fleck or someone big guest, a trombone shorty. You expect Seville to have a big guest, but no one could have predicted that this was going to be the tour. The fall tour of this year was going to be the year they literally had the biggest run of no repeated songs in a pair of shows that weren't at the same venue. They start off at Seville, there's going to be no repeats. But you start off in Savannah and what was it, Greenville, you don't think that you're not going to get, any sort of, you're going to have this no overlap. Like who would have planned that or guessed that, being realistic
Yeah, and
there.
I think that the note on that show for Greenville in the Almanac kind of sums up and gives the gravitas to how rare that is. I mean, even prior to all this, you had to go back to like the caravan tours, or even I think when we were doing the research for this, we had to go back to like 2004 or 2005 to find anything even close to this happening. It was a once in like a once or twice in the entirety of the whole band's existence that it ever happened.
Yeah. And by the way, the lady in that picture next to me, if you guys can see that, her son is a huge DMB fan. The only other show she had been to ever was Bangor, Maine, meaning her first show, she saw Cha Cha for the first time. Her second show ever, she saw Straight Shot. So I don't know. Maybe if she comes back to a show next year, we'll get a debut. But I thought that was cool. Here's a little run here where we go to break free, most plays ever in a single calendar year, including a Mexico. You were there, right, for the Mexico baritone guitar solo performance of that. But the most in the calendar year, that's Zach. He was there. And then Busted Stuff, second most plays in the calendar year. And that's outside of 2000. So those are some crazy stats. What was it like getting that break free in Mexico, Zach, with the baritone?
That was for night three for the opener, and I remember just being very confused seeing Dave standing there solo with an electric guitar in Mexico. I was very confused. I was hoping and praying that we weren't about to get a Some Devil opener, and then he busted that out, and it was really cool. I remember him vaguely sound checking that a couple of days prior to. I thought that he was just kind of screwing around with it, but it was really nice to see that. And I think that the fact that, I was excited when Busted Stuff got liberated in Mexico during Dave and Tim, and it was pretty clear, especially for him to dig that far back. It was clear that it was going to come out for the summer. But I will say that Busted Stuff really came into its own this year in terms of the quality of it. It just kept getting better and better. The band kind of stretched it out a little bit more each time. They gave Jeff a little bit more liberty to solo out that jazzy outro section. And I think that it showed that that song could really be a fantastic corner piece that the band could run with, especially in this configuration.
Yeah, and we'll get back to Busted Stuff later when we talk about some change ups on some classics. But it was this time of year, around a year ago, when Dave actually learned Busted Stuff on his standard tuning guitar. There, so it's a twist of fate where he's like, I guess I'll learn it. What do you got? What do you think? And so that's a huge sign of what was to come. Just starting off with the learning Busted Stuff and standard tuning, and then we'll get to the trickery later. Um, Now here's one this one I actually think is a good thing. I know some people, you have a whole generation and a whole wave, not just generation, you have a whole wave of fans who started going to Dave shows when Big Whiskey came out. And I don't say generation because I know fans who are over 40, some of them are over 50. Their first show was post Roy. They got into the music, they connected with the music during the Big Whiskey era or forward. Some of them walk around the moon and forward. And so you have people that are around my age in their early 30s that were young at the time of Big Whiskey, just in high school, and then finally caught on. And you have people who just happened to pick it up later. But 49 performances of Big Whiskey songs this summer for the summer tour. And that is the fewest of any summer tour since the song came out. Even the 2011 Caravan, 13 shows. 13 shows, they had 50 total performances of Big Whiskey there. What do you think of that trend here for this tour?
I think that to a degree, it's nice to see that Big Whiskey is kind of getting reined in. I mean, I am a Big Whiskey guy. It's the album that turned me on to the band. It'll always kind of be my real favorite album in the sense that it means something to me. I love Streets, I love Crash, I love Table and Dreaming, but you know, Big Whiskey is that album that hooked me. And all these years later, I'm currently talking on a podcast with you about it. So, to a degree, I think the issue was is that while yes, Big Whiskey was big and bombastic, and there were tons of songs that fans loved and all that, Big Whiskey for years was just something that Dave and the band kind of went to, and they went down into the well so many times they just kept on coming back for the same songs. They kept playing Shake Me. They kept playing, you know, Funny the Way It Is. And it was almost a joke of how comically overplayed they were. And I think that now with, what are we at? Well over 10 years since Big Whiskey was released. I think that Big Whiskey has kind of had its time in the sun and now it can enjoy a little bit more of a backseat and meld into the album blend and the song chart a little bit more on an even keel as to everyone else. I mean, it certainly hasn't hit the level of an away from the world and that has just not played anymore. But I think that overall, the idea of Big Whiskey kind of being more of we haven't played this in a while, let's try it, is great. I'd love to see Funny played a little bit less, but that's just me.
Yeah, and speaking of funny the way it is, I was sick of it very early on in my early years of going to live shows. I don't mind it as much now, and the reason is I haven't seen it as much. But I think that I'm a big proponent of rotating out songs of every level of every era from tours for a band like DMB that literally has toured every year. Even during the pandemic, they had shows that they played right before things shut down. It's important to rotate songs out, and we'll get to that a little later as far as every day and some other songs. But I really believe in it. I know some people, how I can't go to a show without this, or they didn't play Seek Up this year as much, and I'm like, it's better for songs to get a break, new songs come in, and then a year from now, 2 years from now, we see a song come back and it's even better. So I'm a big proponent of rotating stuff out. And speaking of that, here we go. Every day got 6 plays in 2022. It got zero in the summer of 2023, and it got two in not Mexico, in South Africa. One Dave solo performance for the Kraft family in Southampton, New York, per their almanac. And I love this song, Going Away Completely, even though it's a fan favorite. In SPAC night, was it SPAC night one, was one of the loudest moments, was every day. But I think the song needs a break. And I think what's great, this song went away and Buddy had other signature moments that you could appreciate him for. This was one of the first songs that fans tied to Buddy Strong, and that's fine. But I prefer it to. I liked how we got a break from it, and then you saw Buddy with Madman. You saw Buddy with some other songs where his keys were featured more often, and you see him vocally with some of the songs as well this year, continuing to have that presence, and you get to appreciate him in new ways. What do you think about Every Day taking a seat?
I think that it was a welcome change. I think Every Day has been one of those songs that, at least in my opinion, I don't think that there's ever been a time that I've been to a DMB show and Every Day gets played and I thought that it elevated the set list. I think that it's always one of those songs that it's like, okay, this is played for the crowd. The crowd loves it. It doesn't do much to me. I find the song to be kind of mediocre overall. I did, however, really like the versions that were done in South Africa. I think that Boosie did a really good job with his sit-ins, and I think the band had a lot of fun with them in that sense. But again,
Yes.
I think that it kind of goes to the thought that you were bringing up that rotating songs is not a bad thing, and in a way, it kind of makes the heart. What's that old saying? Distance makes the heart grow fonder. It's kind of like
Yes.
what you were saying with Funny. I kind of have found myself shockingly having the same sort of uh, discourse regarding Shake Me, because for years I loathed that song. The amount of times that I would hear it close a show, or even like what year was it? Saratoga Night 2, that Shake Me closed, and literally the entire venue was angry about it and everyone left. But
Yes.
now that Shake Me is only played, less than 10 times a year, I maybe only see it once a tour if I'm lucky. And then I even remember when it was played at I think it was Jones Beach either this year or last year. I was like, oh, I forgot about this song. The song's kind of fun, I guess, when you don't play the crap out of it.
Yeah, although there was a little bit of a run where Shake Me, I think, closed 2 or 3 shows around that upstate New York with the not Buffalo, but the one
Oh,
right by
Darien or
there.
whatever. Yeah.
Darien, yeah, there was a couple. Oh, yeah, it was like Hartford, Darien, or something like that. Patrick O'Brien, let's bring this up, and I want to just touch on this real quick. He says, I think it's important to note that they've shown some songs take a back seat and come back even better later from changes the band makes behind the scenes, Busted Stuff, ABI. Taking that even further, because those are great examples. We'll get to those later. Uh, we look at Sweet. Sweet got an extreme makeover DMB edition revamp in recent years. We look at Mercy, which came back in Europe the last time they were in Europe. Only one play with Buddy. That was 2019. But that Mercy, which was on one of the warehouse discs, was amazing. It was incredibly amazing. So
Well, it's
I
amazing what
believe
you
in,
can do with Mercy when you have an actual piano player on it.
yes, that is true. Not the da 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 da
Oh
da. And
God. Don't
yeah,
you're reminding me of those initial Mercies when they came out, those slogs, those 15 or 16
yeah,
minute slogs. Oh my
yeah.
God.
And of
That was a
course,
beer run if there ever was one. Those were hurtful.
and they had the great Mark Whitfield was in Hartford, and I was like, "Oh, he's coming on," and like they still didn't allow him to like even do like a jazz solo. Like it was just like you have him on. He like you need
He's
to do
here.
more.
Let
Like
him do
so,
it.
yeah, yeah. So like let him like what they did with Buddy actually is I could see Mark doing a jazz solo with that new transition and chord structure at the end of it. Anyway, I was very disappointed to see him come on stage in 2013, and then they still didn't let him. They just just still had him be quiet. So, uh, but yeah, I fully agree with Patrick's sentiment and just and he said he was at both Hartford and Darien. They had the Shake Me's there for both of those.
So actually, hold up. I'm noticing there's a comment here from Shu York. I don't know if you're planning on talking about
Oh,
Last
the
Stop.
last stop.
Uh, the Last Stop truncation. Are we planning on talking about that later, or do you want to just take care of
Let's
that
talk
now?
about it now. Let's talk about it now. What do you
Uh,
think?
I I am very much adamantly against Last Stop in its current form because right now a truncated half stop is fan service. It's cheap, and without the outro, that song loses every bit of power that it has. And I don't know why Dave and the band just don't want to do it anymore. I don't know what the hell they tried to do with that immigrant song bullshit at the end during MSG Night 2 that confused the hell out of everybody. But
Yes.
personally, unless they decide to like bring back full-fledged 10-minute last stop, I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm done. Just put it away because it's a shame of what it used to be.
And to be fair, here's what I'll say. I agree 100%. With that MSG Night 2 show, they looked tired.
They were gassed. They had nothing
And
left in the tank.
it looked like even with that little immigrant song tease or whatever you want to call it, it was so short. I didn't even realize it was immigrant song till I listened back to my audio. And I mean, I'm a Zeppelin. I mean, Zeppelin 1 through 4 are stuff that when I started playing guitar, that's what I was listening to just to kind of study the greats. Um, I'm not, I can't tell you, Pat, was it physical graffiti, Pat? But anyway, the point is, even now, I was like, wait, what are they? I couldn't even pick up they were doing that, and so to me, that seemed like they were exhausted or something was wrong with the equipment. I don't know, but it seemed like something cut that off. But nonetheless, it would be nice for them to focus to actually, even if it's a one song encore, play the last stop, focus on it, or play it as the set closer and take a break. If exhaustion is an issue or to mitigate fatigue, it really should be.
But I mean, like to a degree, and I guess kind of like when I think about the song musically, I
Yeah,
don't find the outro doesn't seem, at least on a surface level, to be very taxing. If anything, it's kind of a
right.
little bit more opening. It's less rigid and
Yes.
structured than the beginning. The beginning is an absolute slog in that sense. The outro
Yeah.
is kind of the fun where it's like, okay, we did our regimented syncopation and
Yep.
Middle Eastern style tunings. We can kind of just let this ride out and just go off into the sunset. That's half the fun of it. It's the full release at the end. I've kind of never understood the argument of, oh well, they can't get through it. It's too long. I was like, they've been able to figure it out with two step, and they still do it continually with Seek Up. I don't know if I buy that argument anymore.
Yeah, no, that's a good point because you do have a song like Two Step where Carter, it's taxing on him even though it slows down and chills out. It's harder. You have a song like Sugar Will, which has made comebacks. When I tell you the Sugar Will ending, Dave still having to play, that is 10 times harder than what Dave plays at the end of Last Stop. So no, that's a great point. There's songs where you may see on certain instruments it seems easy, but it's actually very hard to keep up and play. But that's not one of them. So it's just no, I agree. It's not a it's there's not really an excuse there for that. Let's go to the next one. Okay. So let me know what you think about this. I'm gonna go first, but this one you have 14 C Cup plays in 2022. There's 3 in 2023. Simply because post Leroy Moore, I believe C Cup in my era of live shows, C Cup has been hit or miss. I'd rather them only do 3 for 2023 and then maybe it comes back a little more next year. Maybe it doesn't. But to me, my issue is the intro of Seek Up does not have the mystique that I when I listen to an older live tracks. So as much as people are upset about this, I'm not as upset because I just think this is one of the songs that its peak is already there. There are some great things in the middle and end, but I think the peak of this song has passed, and it still is good. It's still listen. It's still it's a good song in parts, but I just think the complete package. I did not miss it this year. What about you?
Well, I know that you and I are diametrically opposed on where C Cup currently stands. I think that the fact that it was only played 3 times this year is an absolute travesty. I love C Cup. I personally love the intro to it. I think that's half the fun of it, especially letting Jeff and Rashawn and Buddy go absolutely buck wild on it. And honestly, like, I'm curious to know why C Cup has kind of taken a back seat. I don't know whether it's, again, maybe a length of time thing, because even like the C cups that were played this year were still encroaching on 20 minutes. They're long,
Yeah.
they're involved, and it's a great piece of music. I love it. I love the lyrics to it. My hope is that when we get into 2024, maybe C cup kind of gets a little bit more airplay again. Maybe they were just kind of shelving it a bit to kind of let more of the songs from Walk Around the Moon get played and make sure that they could preserve some song time that way. Because, I mean, say what you will, a 20-minute seek up does kind of kill a fair slot of your show when, you could easily sub in like 3 or 4 Walk Around the Moon tunes that you're trying to go and promo for the new album.
Yeah. And in my thing, that's the time thing is an issue for me. Now, there are some legendary old school C cups, but Red Rocks 95, I'm looking at it, 13 minutes and 29 seconds. I will take a shorter two step or a shorter seek up than a longer one 99% of the time. I know there's a couple special ones, Alpine with the higher ground. I always am I think with DMB, as I have a fish shirt on, I think DMB for certain jams, 90% of the time, 99% of the time, it's better to have it 13 minutes. 14 minutes. Even some of the two steps with Bela, like I think it's 98 in Hartford on the live tracks, 57 or whatever it is. I think it's 47. That one is shorter than most of the modern two steps that go 20 minutes in this last 10 years. So I think less is more for some of the jams, the quality over the quantity. Although I'll say this year, Seek Up with Buddy, he did some great things to add variety to the ending part of it.
Absolutely. And if you get the chance to listen to the Pine Knob version that they did this year, it's an absolute monster. It's a great version.
Okay. Yeah, I have to listen back because that part of the year I was, if it wasn't on Sirius XM, I wasn't listening. So I have to go back to some of those tapes there. And we have Spoon, 0 plays in 2022, and then 6 in 2023. That is a huge upgrade. Obviously, I love Spoon coming back again. MSG, it opens MSG. Was it wild by you? Because by me, there were some fans that knew it, but it wasn't like the crowd was going nuts.
Oh, my section absolutely lost their shit to it. They were
Oh, they did.
thrilled,
Okay.
absolutely thrilled. And I
Okay.
think that, Spoon and Dreaming Tree have always had this very weird kind of tit for tat thing for at least the past 10 years or so, where it seems like, you know, one gets played one year, then there's like a year off, and then the other one gets played one year, and it usually only gets played like once or twice a year, if that. But it seems like Dave finally kind of remembered either how the song connects with him, or for whatever reason he found his comfort spot with Spoon, and it must have been during the break. I don't know what happened, but he seemed really excited, and the band seemed really excited to be playing it again. And I think that if I remember correctly, I know we talked about this at some point. I think that this is the second highest amount of spoon plays that have occurred since the song was released. If I remember correctly, it's either the second or third. I think it tied.
Yeah, I can't remember the song count, but the next slide, as we have Future, She Belongs to the Streets, um, we have the fact that this is the first year, you had mentioned this to me, the first year where every song on Before These Crowded Streets was played full band since 1998. And just to take a shortcut, speaking of Dreaming Tree, Camden, if you went to Camden night 2 and all 3 nights of the Gorge, that's 4 shows. If you went to those 4 shows, I do know some friends who did go to all 4 of those in the tri-state area. You heard Before These Crowded Streets. To take it a step further, I heard every song from Before These Crowded Streets over the last 2 years, some of them twice or 3 or 4 times. And I think I've heard Stay like 30 times. 30. But like that is the special thing about this year and the last 2 years. Like you said, last year Dreaming Tree came back, Spoon disappeared. This year we got both of them, the stars aligned, and we got Last Stop to hop in for a couple of shows. And this is just a special thing for the 25th anniversary Before These Crowded Streets. And then let's see if I can get this here. We have the special Before These Crowded Streets vinyl right here. Everyone's been waiting for this, and I gotta say, if you just want to talk about the audio quality, I know you're a better gauge of this. This is what you do. You listen, you record, but this re-release, I don't have the original. You do, but this recording more than enough takes away my demand to buy the original at this time. Now, if 20 years from now, if someone's selling their their father's Before These Crowded Streets original release and they don't know how much it's worth, maybe I'll buy it. But what did you think of this audio recording, the re-release
so
compared to the original?
so I will say I was kind of leery about it from when the remaster was originally announced, because there had been rumors that the original masters to Streets had been lost, and from the way that the press release was worded, it wasn't necessarily going to be mastered in the way that a lot of big audiophiles would love. But to be very clear, the reviews from the repress been fairly uh, have been fairly good. I personally haven't listened to the repress. I'm actually planning next weekend. I'm going to be doing a blind A/B listening of my original copy, my original pressing that I just got, and I'm going to be doing a blind listen of the remaster. I'm going to be doing it so that way I don't know which one is playing. I'm just going to be sitting there listening,
Ah,
and from there I'm going to try my hardest to kind of take as many variables out of it to see, okay, is there a real, like, honest to god difference.
that'll be awesome. We'll have to check in with you on that and see what your findings were. But that sounds awesome there. But let's keep going here. So here's some new album stats. And this one I put it on Twitter this morning, and these are the most played songs from the album that was released for the corresponding year. For Come Tomorrow in 2018, we have Samurai Cop, Can't Stop, She, Again and Again, and That Girl Is You. And if you notice, Samurai Cop 39 plays. Really, so it's the last, you would have 30, 35 to 40 plays of a song for previous album tours of every album before Walk Around the Moon. It was just common that one song may get that amount of play, but now we have an adjustment, a game plan decision by the band. Madman's Eyes only gets 31 plays, which, yeah, it felt like a lot when you go to a bunch of shows, but not, still, eight less than Samurai Cop for 2018. And to me, what I think is out of the top five for 2018, the only song that I actually liked was Again and Again live. That's live. I think these songs do have some great connections, like Samurai Cop. If you have a child, if you have a parent, maybe you think of their how they value you. I'm not saying, oh, it's I just, but it's they don't hit live to me. They don't have, and I think the biggest thing is they don't have the replay value. Just like Samurai Cop, we had a bunch of Madmans the year before the actual album release. Actually, Samurai Cop we had from 2016, and so we've had a couple of years of some of these songs from Walk Around the Moon. Some of these just came out, but Break Free's been around for a while. But long story short, the Come Tomorrow songs got stale very quick. I think the five songs from the top played from Walk Around the Moon still have value. I do think Madman should go down slightly. Maybe cut it down to 20 plays. It probably will still be played 25 or more times, but I would cut it down to 20 plays. But I love all these five songs from Walk Around the Moon. And I still want to hear It Could Happen, which was right below. It wasn't too far below. I think it was 17 plays in the summer. What do you think about the high played songs from 2018 and 2023?
See, I think the problem is that trying to compare Come Tomorrow to Walk Around the Moon is kind of like comparing apples to oranges to a degree. Come Tomorrow was this cobbled together mishmash of songs that just frankly had no flow together, and the songwriting on a fair amount of that album is not great. It's fairly mediocre. Um, and not to mention that a lot of those songs in the live setting, similar to what you said, they had no staying power. Like
Yeah.
like Sam Cop is fine, but it's saccharine and it just feels way too forced. Like I love the horn riff in the bridge, but that's about it. And don't get me started about Can't Stop. Can't Stop just needs to go away, period. That song is terrible. And even the way that they've absolutely mutilated, like it was bad when it was out and getting played, during like the Fenway Park era. It somehow got worse, and I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Um,
It got worse.
but overall, again, like you said, like if you keep on going down here, it's okay. I'm not sitting here craving to listen to it. I think it's gotten better over the past couple of years. They've actually gone and like created a new instrumental section in the end to kind of allow Buddy to do some more soloing and interesting interludes with the horns. But again, I'm not freaking out about it. And again, like, yeah, it's a good song. I enjoy it, but it's not spectacular. And I refuse to acknowledge That Girl Is You as a song because it's absolutely terrible. Um, but when it came to like the songs off of Walk Around the Moon, there really did seem to be this cohesive theming around it. The band seemed to gel with it a lot more. It didn't seem like a lot of them were like B reel that was taken off a shelf out of Charlottesville when like, oh, we did this in the studio as one cut, let's redo it. It seems like a lot of these were actually really fleshed out and thought about in terms of the live setting. And I think that's why, like, to me, I don't mind that I've seen Madman's a ton of times. I still think that it does really, really well. Does it have slightly diminishing returns? Sure. Looking for a vein, it's 2 minutes. I can suck it up for 2 minutes. Walk Around the Moon is still fairly good. Monsters, I think, is getting even better. And my hope is that for 2024, we're going to see Monsters jump up this chart and maybe even surpass Madman's because the fan reaction to Monsters as a whole has been light years better than expected. And then Break Free, I feel like having Break Free on there is kind of cheating because everybody loves that song. They've loved it ever since it
Yeah.
came out from the first sessions.
But even to compare that to, I know let's not compare, but the fact that Break Free got all those plays and can't like change it to like Idea of You, for instance, did not make the top five in 2018. And that was beloved like Break Free for years. And the song we got that was older was Can't Stop. And to me, like you said, they made it worse. So that's where I think 2023, that's why it was so special. And the one thing I was looking at the other day was the song All You Wanted Was Tomorrow has lyrics here where it says, when all you wanted was tomorrow, your picture albums on the wall in the good old days and times of sorrow. Yeah, but tomorrow never comes. Oh, tomorrow never comes. It seems like Dave was like, oh, I like back in 2018, I was happy. My children were getting ready to grow up to where they don't need me anymore. I'm excited for the future that they're gonna have. And he seems like he's looking back like, yeah, well, tomorrow's with the way this world is and the way the current world stances, the world is now, inspired Madman's Eyes, inspired some of these songs. He's like, that was kind of, he's almost looking back and saying, well, tomorrow may not come for me. So let's be real. Let's be honest. Hey, like even look for a vein. Hey, I'm searching for something, but what does it mean? What does it matter? I'm chasing this thing. I feel like Walk Around the Moon, like you said, more cohesive, but the songwriting comes from a point of post pandemic or during the pandemic, but post pandemic, he's releasing this music from what he experienced over the last couple of years.
I can definitely agree with that. And then, like he's had his own like personal changes. His kids are growing up. I think his daughters are now just finishing up or just finished up college. So he's
Mhm.
only got him, his wife, and his son around. He's been busy with everything else.
Yep.
He's entering a new stage in his life, and that seems to be, showing and reflecting pretty highly in his songwriting. It's not like dark lily white style Dave, but he's starting to find more meat and bones to it. And he's even starting to look back in some of the older stuff, like he's looking towards Cha Cha and saying, like, oh, this was something that we fleshed out a while ago. Why don't we give it a shot? And then with Straight Shot, my understanding is that's another one that was on the floor that didn't make it to the new album that they wanted to kind of flesh out. So he's taking more chances, which is a good thing.
Yeah. And NJ dispensary guy, that's Michael. I did get It Could Happen at SPAC, and I'm glad I got it, but I want some more plays of that.
It's such a good
Oh,
song. The Bangor version of that with the extended wailing outro is so
yeah,
good.
yeah. And that's really where these Walk Around the Moon songs were made for the live stage, and they have so much room to still grow. They don't need makeovers, they just need to continue to build on what they have. Uh
Definitely.
so this so we're gonna go to song tricks and fakes, and we're gonna kind of go through this a little quick here. So Busted Stuff was played in a standard tuning instead of just no acoustic, that was a 2010, which I thought was just a disgrace, having just the electric guitar. This song I associate with the acoustic guitar, and it's a song that you can learn on acoustic and really be at a campfire and really sound great, or be at a coffee house and sound great if you build up the talent. The original tuning is more E minor based. Some of the higher or thicker strings on the guitar you tune down, you keep the E the same. So he learned this again about a year ago. I think it was around the holidays. He relearned it, and he had mentioned that somewhere. I can't remember where, but he mentioned that he learned it again in standard tuning, and voila, we have it. And here's Aaron, but this was the Aaron's tweet says Busted Stuff took over 100 shows chasing, but finally landed it. You had a lot of fans. Oops, I said 20,000. I always have a spelling error. I need an editor. But I think John Dix had told us I think he was chasing this, or he was chasing this. A lot of fans who joined in 2003, 2004, or even 2002, they didn't catch a Busted Stuff. And there are some fans that from the 90s that never got it. Maybe they didn't go to 2000 shows as much, or they missed it, or only went to one show because they were in high school or even younger, and they just missed it. So you had a lot of fans that got this back, but the thing that made this special was it was in standard tuning, so you never truly knew when it was going to come because there's no guitar switch. This fake was one example. I'm just gonna go through these here. The next one's American Baby intro. This one faked me. I faked everyone out. I don't think unless you had the set list or had some intel, no one saw this coming. Why? Because Dave played American Baby intro on his acoustic guitar, and there was no sort of intro like Buddy, and it never had been played post Boyd. So him coming out at SPAC, and I know you were there too, Zach. He comes out, you see a little piano intro, and you're like, okay, what's going on? What is Buddy gonna transition to? I'm thinking maybe Steady As We Go. I'm like, okay, maybe it's something, and then all of a sudden it transitions into the American Baby intro chords. But even when that happens, it takes a while for your mind to process it.
Man, I'm getting goosebumps thinking back to that night because
Yeah.
it like that was show 99 for me. And
Mhm.
I have never heard a crowd go that insane at a Dave show ever. I will never forget just the groundswell of cheers and excitement when the entirety of the SPAC orchestra figured out, holy crap, they're gonna do it. They're actually doing it. And I remember staring over at the stage, just hearing it hit, and it just I started crying without any exaggeration because I never thought I would ever hear this song, and it completely hit me like a boot to the chest. It was incredible, and I like and the smiles on all of their faces was incredible to see. The band and Dave saw it immediately. He knew that the fans were in love with it,
Yeah.
and that's why I do firmly believe that he realized, oh shit, you guys still like this, and that's why it got absolutely blown up in July, which is another reason why those shows were so incredible.
Yeah. And the one thing there's always there's always differing opinions in this fan base. There's so many reasons to love this band. There's not one reason or three reasons. There's like 17. So you do have some fans who don't get the hype with American Baby intro, but the dynamic build up and the emotions of, like you said, how it felt to be there, like that was a moment I will never forget being there, and I'm so glad I went. I almost didn't go to that. And people literally bought tickets for night 2 based on this American. They knew it wasn't gonna be played, but like if they're playing ABI night 1, what's gonna happen night 2? Night 2, Bela comes, right?
Well, no, even
So
well, that kind of to segue in with this. I mean, yeah, the second that ABI came back, people freaked, but I think that was one of the biggest things I had such a problem with during the fall tour. Like I said, I enjoyed the fall tour, but there was one thing that they did that really bothered me was that they took the sting out of ABI, and they did that by going and crutching back into using Lying in the Hands of God as an opener, and then trying really desperately to transfer into ABI. And then the problem was is that it lacked that sting, it lacked that punch and that fervor, which is why I was really glad that they decided to not do that for MSG. When they had done it
yeah.
for the other times, I was like, "Ugh, this sucks," and it doesn't have the same feel, the same emotion. And the fact that they kind of realized afterwards, like, okay, let's not do that anymore. It's like, thank you, God.
And that awareness is the difference between this DMB and previous eras. I mean, we've seen the band have Prelude to Grace. I mean, obviously we weren't, focused on DMB back then, but I listened to Live Track 31. I'm like, why didn't they break? But now they're like, okay, I'm gonna break like, and it's a little bit different because that was, but still that adjustment is what's been great about this year. The next thing we have Madman's Eyes fakes into minarets, squirm, and so damn lucky. This is another element where it's not like somebody said, hey, this is what you guys should do. There were fans who thought, hey, Madman's Eyes sounds like minarets, right? But nobody was like hoping that they were going to fake Madman's the intro into other songs, but they brought it to us, and I thought this was very cool. I was not at was I wait, I don't think I was at any of these. Um I did get the Big Eyed Fish into, I believe it was Madman's. But I liked how at least this added variety and it kept people, especially the Deer Creek one, which was the first one, it kept people like, oh, we don't know what we're gonna get. Expect the unexpected. And there's not much of that in the DMB world. We've had some special things. I believe it was like P and P went into like something else in Philly.
Yeah, that was a
But
one-off in 2012, I think. But the thing is that, and what's so nice about Madman's, I remember when I saw it debut in Columbus in 21, I originally thought it was some sort of new intro to minarets and, figuring out later that it wasn't. But I think the nice thing about Madman's is that it's actually like tailor built to do fake outs.
yes,
You can do that whole intro and just build that nice menacing tension inside of the intro, and you can fake it out into anything that you want. It's tailor made for that. So the fact that Dave
yeah.
kind of realized that, I was surprised that it took him as long as he did.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not I'm surprised. Forget him realizing it, him actually doing it. I think a lot of with Dave, it's like him actually doing it. Like, for instance, we're talking about the last stop. I think everyone knows it's not rocket science. Hey, that musical part. I mean, these guys are geniuses. I think they know that the full last stop is a master. I mean, they produced it in the studio. Tim
They
was
wrote they
there.
wrote the damn thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tim was in the studio. Stefan, Dave, and Carter, they were all there with Lily White, so they know. And Lily White worked them to literally play them over and over, had them play these songs over and over until they got that outro out right. So they know it, but to do it is another thing. And I respect that he did that. This one was to me a subtle but great change. Dave playing the baritone guitar on the space between, first time since 2013, a decade. And seeing this is a still from the Hartford show that I recorded. This is one of my video stills, and I just think it brought a that baritone guitar, just with the reverb and everything, and the power of it hits the song better than the acoustic.
Absolutely.
And it makes it feel fuller, like for a full band show, instead of like the acoustic. Just it makes it feel like he's just trying to do a little snippet for you and get it over, but it just felt fuller there. So just a quick one. Let's keep it moving. So to me, the song of the year was American Baby intro, and we kind of went over it a little bit. But one of the things I've preached on this stream for the last couple of years, the dynamics. Don't drink the water frustrates me because there's no dynamic buildup. They start off loud instead of having a little more acoustic and rugged. But American Baby intro starts off slow, it builds up and it goes down. Just like we talked about in SPAC, it's a spiritual experience. It's hard to explain. Now, again, there's always fans that I need lyrics. I need this crazy line. And listen, lyrics are important for this band too. Because if they weren't, they would just be Fish, right? Or they'd be a jam band. They didn't write good lyrics. If they didn't have hit songs, they wouldn't be on the Billboard charts and have Grammy records. So the it is important, but I think just the channeling the energy of the building with ABI is awesome. And then this, like you said, this was anticipated, but no one ever thought it was going to happen. People every year, ABI. Now, of course, I make a video in April and I talk about bringing it back. And listen, they brought it back, so you're welcome, guys. But like it is funny because we did have, actually. Let me see if I have that, because we could. Let's see. I have that because I did do a little clip this morning. Let's see if I can let's play this real quick. And all right, I'm gonna just mute you real quick, Zach, so there's no reverb. But you know, this was supposed to be a video about how much I hate Louisiana Bayou. I do think there's a case to make that a lot of the stand up songs like Louisiana Bayou, Stolen Away, You Might Die Trying, and American Baby intro have evolved after the passing of Leroy Moore. I listened back to some of these different versions post Roy, and I realized how great the actual jams were. So this is American Baby intro. This is from the Gorge, and shout out to Copper Pot for getting this video. This was one of the first Extreme Makeover DMB editions for the DMB 2 sets, and I just loved this song. It was in my head throughout the entire 2 years of the two sets when I heard it. Like I just kept hearing it throughout my days. Such a beautiful piece of music.
How you take me right back again. Funny the feeling when forever stole me away. The first time I saw you, you did me that way. What should I say? I see you here standing, I am.
You Might Die Trying may be the best example of a song that actually evolved fully well through this band's tenure after the death of Leroy Moore. I don't like certain things about this band, but I overall still love what they do. Appreciate it. All right, so let's mute that here. All right, we got Zach back on. Yeah, so they played all those songs. I mean, obviously, You Might Die Trying have been and Stolen Away. They had been played in previous years, but all of these songs in the same one was awesome there. So those were the stand-up songs. I always believed that stand-up had these jams and had these moments, but they were always picking the wrong songs by you. Remember Stand Up in 2018?
You know, that's like one of the only songs that I'm missing because ended up hopping onto tour in 2018 late. So I think that that's one of like the last 13 songs I'm missing overall.
You're not missing. You're not missing anything.
Oh,
So
I heard the 2018
yeah,
ones were definitely interesting.
yeah. It was like the guy who Nick Lachey, he was competing for Jessica Simpson back in the day, and Nick took the sacrifice. Anyway, let me show. All right, so that's my favorite is American Baby intro. Oh no, I think it's just the song of the summer because of what it did. There are other songs that hit people in different ways, but this was just the song that every part of the year from July forward you saw it here. Let's see. And then obviously this is one where we have show of the year. Obviously, people are going to put out MSG Night 1. People are going to put out the Gorge Night 2. I was not there, so there's definitely an attendance bias. But to me, before I get to any of these points, I'm not a fan of covers don't do as much. Now, Just Breathe, I understand why people were in tears. And I understand why Jimmy Buff, again, it's those are special in the moment. So I get if you were at that show, that's your favorite. But to me, when the highlights are D&B songs, that trumps even Derek Trucks. I have an Allman Brothers poster there. I saw Derek during the final run of the Allman Brothers in 2014. I've seen Tedeschi Trucks Band. I loved Tedeschi Trucks Band. But to me, you have a couple of things here that supersedes just for a DMB, a personal DMB show. You have first the Stone opener. Anytime there's a Stone opener, there's most likely a top-notch show. There's very few, and for those of you who don't play guitar, The Stone is one of the most taxing songs that's in regular rotation, even if they only play it once or twice a year or 3 or 4 times a year. That song, just the da 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 da, that part, even though it sounds simple, it will take your dexterity and just rip apart your hand. I still can't even play with the recording. Like if I play a bunch of guitar and then I try to play the Stone, it's hard. So the point is, when Dave starts off with the Stone, he means business because it's a lot even for him with his skills. The next thing you have is the only shotgun of the year. Again, if you don't like shotgun, if you like more mainstream songs, that's fine. Maybe this isn't your favorite show, but to me, this is a song that I have been chasing for, at the time, almost 50 shows. I missed it last year when I decided to go to Alpine and Deer Creek. So I went to Deer Creek, was in Chicago when our boy Michael in the chat, Michael Wheel, in the New Jersey dispensary guy, he was at his hometown show and they opened up with Shotgun. I'm in Chicago like punching air because I'm like, I could have went to that show. So that song, getting it for the first time, and then by the way, that was after ABI and the Stone in Break Free and Fish Tender. And that's point number 4 is Busted Stuff, Fish Tender, Drunken Soldier, all these songs in the same show, and you have Shotgun. There's no other show that had Shotgun. And then there's few shows that I don't know if there was another Stone opener. There may have been one other, but even so, like all those in one. And then to me, no covers in the encore. I love how Watchtower was at the end of the set. Still not my favorite cover. Post I have, speaking of that, I have my Jimi Hendrix. My mother-in-law got me this Hendrix Atlanta Pop Festival, and there's a Watchtower in here. I think that Watchtower in the pre Tim Reynolds fully being on 2008 to present coverage, I think it's better in 99. The song was at its best. 98, 99 acoustic bass. Anyway, all that said, still it was slid in there, right? Sledgehammer was slid in the middle of that set, in between Break Free and the Madman's Eyes Fish Tender. So this show, front to back, had everything I look for in a DMB show and had stuff that you could not find literally at any other show. The only shotgun of the tour, and again that rare Stone opener, which just means you're gonna have a good time. What was your song? Was this your favorite show of the year?
I would definitely say that ABI is definitely the song of 2023. I couldn't agree more with that. I would say that Saratoga Night One was definitely in my top three. It pretty much vies for that number one spot, but I will give a fair amount of credit to Bangor for this year because that show really went well beyond what it should have been for a one-off show. I mean, you've got a pig opener, you've got JTR in the 2 spot after a rain delay, you've got Nancy's in the 3 spot. I mean, you've got all these incredible songs like Boa in there, you've got a full Lion Our Graves, you've got the premiere of Cha Cha. I mean,
Yeah,
there are some parts of it that kind of go a little sideways, things like Shake Me as the show closer, Gravedigger subbing out Say Goodbye, but I'm willing to give that a slight pass because it was for that kid that had his poster. And I mean,
yeah,
even, you could contend that, Homdale or Jones Beach were really solid and probably vie for that top 3 spot too. But again, it's similar to what we talked about earlier that if you look at any DMB show from July of this year, there's a good case argument to say that it is one of the top 5 or, even top 10 shows of the tour is solely in that month. They're
yeah,
all like that. I don't think that we at all give enough credit to just how good July of 2023 was for this band. It was some unbelievable shows.
yeah. And again, going back to that ABI intro being liberated, obviously people say, "Oh, it's played ABI, it's played it, this and that," and I think the Gorge opener was definitely special. The people think so. I mean, the video I put together of that, Like a lot of people have watched that video. And so I think it says a lot about the gorge and the impact of that weekend for people who were there. But I just think if you weren't like being there, that's where the bias comes in. Like being there, I can't think of a moment like that ABI and everyone going nuts. And we just heard it in the video clip of like people going, what? Like, and that was, this is stuff by the soundboard. These are mics. These aren't mics in the crowd. These are mics raised high and specifically to try to just get a little crowd in, and you still have people going, like, oh my God, what? So it's definitely special. And then I have some New Year's resolutions here. The first one, and we talked about this behind the scenes. Um, Less live streams, more video recordings. Now, what I'll say is first and foremost, if you don't want to record anything, that's fine. I'm talking about if you take out your phone, and obviously, full disclosure, I'm mashing up these videos, but what we saw, and is first we respect the couch tour, and we're not saying oh they shouldn't like, but the problem is there's somebody that's always there at the rail on the couch tour. If the couch tour is taken care of, more video recordings that are not live streamed, if you decide to take your camera out, it leads to a better overall product. And we saw that in South Africa. Everyone, we appreciate the live streamer in South Africa, but that we just needed one person. We didn't need anyone else. And they did it. But we have video from, I think it's Ainsley Snap, of Every Day in Pretoria, and we have Straight Shot in Cape Town. Those two videos are incredible. And they will live on because of situations where we don't have tapes because a taper was not allowed in as far as their gear. We have great snapshots into those shows because of that. There. So what do you think? What do you want to add to that?
No, I definitely think, I love the couch tour. I give a lot of credit to all those folks that are sitting there and, making sure that they can give a nice interactive experience in the couch tour group and all that. But especially like if you're looking to go and get your phone out, this like pretty much every show is covered by someone on the couch tour. There's no real need to
Yep.
have, 3 or 4 streams up. If you're wanting to record video, record your video natively. Post it up later. There's something to be said about, you'll get significantly higher quality video that you can post later. And yeah, it's not that instant gratification of people, being able to like and interact with the post the second that it's going live and it's going on in front of you, but you'll have a significantly better product that people could enjoy.
Yeah. And whether it's Instagram with some of the vertical videos that Gorge Crew gets from people, or some of the stuff Copper Pot's done, MRNY Crispy, and then even just some of the stuff. I mean, all these videos that people are like, oh, thank you, no, thank the people who were in the pit that recorded that. Like the spoon, the Gorge Night 1 video. Some of those video clips, one of them was in 4K, and they captured Molly Tuttle and everyone else on stage during the last part of that spoon and ants marching. Like that video, if that video is recorded live, if it's live streamed, it's not even close. Where that stuff it was in 4K, and it was all I had to do was copy and paste. I didn't do any. They literally stood at that pit and they had to balance it out, and they're sweating and all that, and it comes with a better product. Second thing is turn Stefan up and allow more space for the bass. Every time it's this time of year, what happens with me? I tap into Fish. At least the last 3 years, I tap into Fish. I listen to live Fish. Tomorrow, I will listen to the live stream on SiriusXM Radio. But I hear Shredding by Trey Anastasio, but what do we hear? Bass. Same thing with Goose and other jam bands and just other bands across the board. Even like like new metal and alternative metal that I listen to. There's space for the bass even through heavy distorted guitars. You have two guitars in certain bands, but the bass has space. When I'm at a show, I never feel like I feel Stefan's bass. I would love for that bass to be turned up and get even sometimes during anyone sings the bridge. If you're not in the right spot, if you're not on Stefan's side, or if you're not by in a certain angle with the sound, I really feel like you need to turn up the bass. And the last thing is going to the goose thing, and even to fish. But I think of goose, and it's obviously we want to wish them the best. They have uh parted ways with the drummer Ben Atkind, who was just a gem for that band. The reason they have the fans they have now is not only what he did on stage, but off stage, he literally would do so much to interact with fans. But long story short, Goose and Fish, they present on YouTube a song selection from each show. Even though they're charging people, they don't let you do what we do. We can't make a multi-cam for Fish. They want you to pay for the regular, like the official recording. They still give the fans some free content. They took a bathtub gem from last night. I think it's like 17 minutes long, and they put it on their YouTube channel. That's the arguably one of the best parts of that set. And I think that if the band was able to continue that, just one song here or there live on tour, or even put on Sirius XM radio, listen between 4 and 7 o'clock, and you may hear a song. People would tune in. Hey, when is it coming? You don't have to say it's going to be at 6:30 p.m. Eastern or whatever. Like, hey, listen through this time period, and you may hear a highlight from this past week. And some of this includes just perhaps a little more interaction from the band. Dave taking even feed Dave a song, let him listen to it 2 or 3 times, and have him record. Hey, it's Dave Matthews. Here's one of my favorite selections from last week. Hey, it's Carter Beauford. This was my favorite song from this last week of touring. It'll take 5 or 10 minutes on tour for them to put that voiceover, pick the song, and then here's a Tuesday show. So
Yeah, but
those
even
are my
like
three.
I think that one of the things that would be really nice for next year would be for DMB and SiriusXM to finally like give the fans the treatment they deserve to have. And by that I point directly to Fish Radio, and I point especially directly to John Mayer Radio, because if anything, if anyone has had the ability to listen to John Mayer Radio and see what that man has curated for his select radio, it puts DMB radio to shame. I mean, the guy is sitting there and releasing demos. He's doing unreleased stuff all the time on there. He's taking active phone calls. And, John Mayer is no slouch. He's a very busy guy, and he's putting a ton of work into this, and the fans love it. And if even DMB put a tenth of that effort into
Yeah.
the current Sirius XM, it would, I mean, to be fair, I think that I would say 95% of the people I know who have Sirius that are, there for the DMB stuff, they don't listen to it except for during the summer when they're broadcasting stuff.
Yeah. No, it's true, and that's me for the most part. I don't listen to DMB radio, and I love, shout out to that, Ari and everyone there. But it's because of that and the John Mayer radio. Initially, I was like, wait, why isn't he playing his own music? And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, here's some stuff from college that John, not Dave, that John likes. And I'm like, oh, he likes Young the Giant like I did when they were in their first 2 album runs doing festivals and on the rise. And he picks up his range and the time. And even if it is, let's just say Jeff Coffin. And Jeff Coffin is in his, he's teaching, and he takes some time, and he kind of walks into how he plays the set. Like, I know that's not, maybe perhaps not every band member is free every second of the day. But if someone is free, if Stefan is free, if sometimes he's had heavy Twitter presence and he's played some stuff, if he just plays something or talks and puts something on, and then maybe someone else steps in, I think rotating in some of the band members, giving their personalities, like you said, how John does it. John gives his full personality. He's breaking down songs. And if they rotate the band members in, it doesn't have to be Dave per se. It would definitely be cool there. And I think that's it. Thank you, Zach, for coming on.
Anytime, Marcus.
Appreciate it. We're gonna get to Connor. I don't know if Connor's ready. we're gonna get to Connor real quick and kind of recap what he went through, and even he did meet Dave this year, so we'll get to him, and then we will play maybe when Connor's on. We're gonna get to in just a second update from what happened in South Africa, something special that happened there with one of our guests from the stream. So thank you, Zach. Take care.
Anyway, take care.
All right, all right. We're gonna bring on Connor. Connor, how you doing?
Marcus, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. So, what are some of your highlights from this past year?
You mean just like personal highlights from like shows that I went to?
Yes, yes, personal highlights.
I'm gonna kind of go in chronological order from the beginning of my summer to obviously MSG. Um, Zach Brown guesting in Nashville. That was crazy. I wasn't expecting Nashville to get any guests, let alone Zach Brown. Well, I was expecting them to get Bella Fleck, but Jeff decided to troll us on his Instagram, which is fine. I mean, I'll take Zach Brown as a consolation prize. But oh, and of course I met Dave in Nashville too. Kind of shoved that under the rug a bit. But Deer Creek night one with all the fakes, all the teases. That was super cool. Deer Creek night two with an 8-year liberation of Halloween. That was awesome. The Gorge and MSG, both of those weekends as a whole were probably two of my favorite weekends for Dave Matthews Band that I've ever been to. And moments like that, just getting to see everyone and, get to be with a bunch of great people is really what makes me enjoy going to these shows, a lot. And I'm very grateful, especially at MSG, for all the hospitality and care that I got. I'll never forget that weekend in the Big Apple.
Yeah. What was your song of the year?
I mean, it's got to be American Baby Intro. That's just the obvious pick. Hearing it for the first time at the Gorge, opening the weekend at the Gorge was truly magical. If I were to have a second place pick, it would be Last Stop. I got both Last Stops of the year, both at Gorge and at MSG, but American Baby Intro was cream of the crop for me.
Okay. And what was your? I think you said Gorge Night 2. That's your show of the year?
Oh yeah, Gorge Night 2. That was my favorite set list of the year. Just
Okay.
The three covers of Pirate Looks at 40, Wait, and Just Breathe, but all the other stuff that they played, Big Eyed Fish, The Stone, Bartender, the 20-minute two-step that we got at the end of the show. It's like they didn't even want to stop playing that song. They could have gone on for an hour and kept going. Help Myself, Joyride, first time hearing those songs ever. Rhyme and Reason. I mean, I could just go on forever about that show. A close second is MSG Night 2, being my 41st show, getting the Captain, the Smooth Rider Liberation, but both of those are pretty close. But I got to give it the edge to Gorge.
Now, did you go to MSG Night 1?
Yes, I did MSG Night 1.
How does that rank in your kind of, or how did you feel? Because this one had a lot. It obviously had Derek and Susan, Ian Trumbull, Shorty, John Faddis. What did you think of this show in relation to some of your favorites of the year?
I mean, this show is definitely top 5. This show is up there. I mean, the Rapunzel closer does kill it for me. That's not in my top 500 of closers. Just because it doesn't have the energy it used to. It's kind of just a bunch of noise now to me, which I mean, that's not knocking the song. If it was literally anywhere else in the show, I wouldn't be complaining about it. But my favorite guest moment of the year was Susan Tedeschi guesting on the Wait. That was, I'll never forget that moment. I remember being in tears when they started playing that song. One of my all-time favorite songs. Getting to hear Dave and Susan sing that together was so special. But that MSG Night 1, that's up there for me. That was one of my favorites of the year as well.
Yeah, and we'll see if we get a release. I think some of the speculation, I mean, we don't know for sure why it was not on Sirius XM, but I mean, you do have a Beatles cover as far as Come Together, which is extremely hard to potentially, and then who knows as far as even with the streaming policy at MSG. Did they charge them? Did they not? Who knows? There's been a lot of speculation. We don't know for sure, but I do hope we're able to get this at some point in some way, even if a couple of songs are selected on it. Like maybe they can't do the Beatles cover for copyright reasons, but if they have that the weight in Lion Our Graves and Watchtower, and they pick those three and add them to like a bonus disc or something like that, or warehouse disc, it'd be really cool. But this show definitely, both MSG shows are awesome. Any other thoughts about the year? What you're looking forward to next year?
I mean, this year was spectacular. I'm never gonna forget this year. This year was so special for a lot of different reasons for me. Um, Basically, what I'm looking forward to next year, I really don't have that crazy of expectations, just because this year was so mind blowing in and of itself. But I guess Alpine. I want to go home. I want to go back to my home venue. I cannot wait to see this, seeing set lists like this at such a great place like Alpine Valley. Alpine next year is going to be nuts. I recommend it to literally everybody. I cannot stress that enough. Alpine is going to be nuts. But aside from that, I just hope that I don't think that there will be a summer that compares to this one, at least for me and the Buddy Strong era again. But I just hope it's close to what it was. Bring out a few more songs. Kit Kat Jam. Bring Kit Kat Jam on the table. I'll be happy.
Yeah, and that, I think that's the thing, is who knows what next year will bring as far as matching this year, but the direction the band is going is, to me, a positive one. They seem to be in a good place, and it's just one of those things where you may not. It's not even about them topping next year; it's just about them continuing to surprise us and entertain us, and just the joy of seeing everyone. And I plan to be at Alpine if I can make it and everything aligns there. And I also hope to be at the tour opener, wherever that is. That is more of a wild card, but I'm trying to, once the tour is announced, get to the opener. So but the Alpine, if you guys, we were talking about this in our little chat or group thread, I think, or no, we were on the chat last night. If you have to choose between Deer Creek and Alpine, you were saying, you made a good point in the chat. Connor said last night, Deer Creek is essentially every year, barring something crazy. But Alpine is every other year, and we don't know. We don't know the future of Alpine. For all we know, they could just decide to shut it down. It could be sold to some. It could be upgraded for again. It could be demolished. We don't know. As you're a local, you could probably speak better to this, but there's an issue with Chicago. As bad as that venue is,
Oh,
it makes revenue. We looked at the numbers. We looked at the numbers sometime this year of the gross and we compared Alpine last year to Chicago 2 years ago, and Chicago 2 years ago was, I think, either right there or more. So it's financially, if you don't know, like, it could be shut down at any given year, and Alpine is that special gem, right? As far as you being a local in that part of the country.
oh, definitely. I mean, it's not a secret that, the band makes so much more revenue going to Chicago. It's in such a prime location, and it's easier for people to get there because Alpine's in the middle of nowhere. For those of you who have never been there or whatever, it literally is in the middle of no man's land. Chicago is it's a terrible venue, but the location is so prime. It's easier for the band to travel there. It's easier for for the fans to go to the show. Parking is not great, but walk around the city of Chicago at night. It's really not as bad as the news puts it out to be. But Alpine is so special in and of itself because Dave loves playing there. The crowd, it's a more desirable venue to go to because you know that you're going to get the better shows, right? The set list from this year from Chicago, they wouldn't have gotten, the Samurai Cop at Alpine, right? some of the other cookie cutter stuff that was played at Northernly. You wouldn't get that stuff at Alpine, but it makes sense for them to do Northernly Island just because of how it's more profitable and it's easier for the crew to go there and whatnot. I just wish that Chicago could get a better venue. I'd rather them play at the United Center for 2 nights than Northernly Island, but I'll take it. It's 2 nights a Dave, but I cannot wait for Alpine. It's so special. And hopefully they won't open with That Girl Is You again.
Yes.
I don't know why Dave decided to do that. It boggles me to this day, but.
Now he did make up. That was my first Alpine weekend, and he did play the Stone. So right after that, I believe, or a couple songs after, and that I was like, all right, we good, fam. But yeah, I was like, oh, it's Alpine. I hear all this great stuff, and then does Dave know where he's at? This isn't Orange Beach. This is not a festival. Anyway, but hey,
Dave
Connor,
pulled that out of left field. That's not a usual Alpine opener. The Pig Night 1, that's more in Alpine's area.
That was great. Yeah. That was awesome. And Alpine has great sight lines, seat over seat. The incline or the steepness of Alpine's seating section, it's not steep where you can't walk it. The hill is past it. When you get past the seating, it is very steep, but you can walk it fine. But one thing I love, especially capturing the shows and just being shorter, 5'7", I was able to see over the people in front of me very easily. It is not the same situation in a lot of these Northeast venues like Mansfield and Hartford, where it's flatter. And these venues are built later than Alpine. But anyway, Connor, thanks for being on. We'll definitely be checking in with you next year for the shows that you do make.
Oh, of course. And Michael, to answer your question, best poster of the year. It's either MSG Liberty or Gorge Sperry. I was at both of those shows. I have both in my house, but it's one of those two. Hey, thanks for having me on, of course. I love talking about this band. I love, interacting with people in the community, and I'm excited to see what 2024 brings.
Definitely. Well, take care, Connor. And as always, appreciate the support.
Hey, of course. You have a good night. Thank you.
All right. You too. Bye. All right. We're going to get to John Dix in just a second. Before that, I do want to give you guys an update on South Africa. So I put together this montage thanks to Jen and Aria for coming on the stream, and then Jen sent me all this stuff. So let's see if I can get this. I'm gonna get this video ready. I'll put this video up on YouTube so you guys can see it, because it may be a little choppy with the stream. But let me see. All right, I'm gonna take myself off. This is the South Africa. Some footage from South Africa here, thanks to Jen and Aria.
The lid was on so tight, you just had to bust out. Remember that first night, it fell right into our hands. Oh,
Jen, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How's it going?
It's going well, and I just want to say thank you for coming on. I reached out to Jen on the DMB Fit Crew page this morning. Aria, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Aria is in Cape Town, South Africa, just left the show. Just tell us, what was it like to be here?
Hasn't really hit me like I'm in South Africa for the first time, and I'm getting to see my favorite band. But
it was a surreal experience. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. It was like one of the best Dave experiences I ever could have had in my life. Probably the best version of Every Day I've ever heard in my life. From start to finish, they started with a youth group that came out and performed that were from Cape Town. They had a drum.
How it happened, blew the lid and got a taste. It's some kind of magic. It could happen like it did, like we awoke, but we were still dreaming. When it happened like it did, if I wasn't there, I wouldn't believe it.
So yeah, that was a little taste of South Africa, and Jen did meet Dave Matthews. Now these are all the fans had left at this time. She stayed in Cape Town for an extended stay. So, and Aria actually went out to another portion of South Africa for safaris. She went on like 3 or 4 days of safaris, and that's actually the way to do it if you go to South Africa. To just you really want to take it in. You may not ever go back. You may have it's a once in a lifetime trip. Um, I went 10 days, and I still think I was with a mission trip with my church when I was in high school. But long story short, you want to go as long as you can. But this is a couple of days after most of the fans that weren't in South Africa, that lived in South Africa, they all had went home or they had moved on to a different part of the country. And she met him at a spice shop. So very cool. It's awesome to see that all come together. She was not stalking Dave or chilling out of his you know like hopping out backstage in an alleyway. So it was really cool that she was able to meet Dave. And stay tuned for the outro. We got some funny stuff at the end of this, and a thank you to all you fans. But we're gonna get John on. John, are you ready? Big dog, you ready? Okay, John's ready. All right, we're gonna bring on John Dix. John, what up?
Hello, how are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So just take us through this year. What was it like to see what you had how many shows you have?
18 total.
18 with an attitude. If you want to go and take a ride with John, what was it like to see 18 shows this year?
It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of great times hanging out with people. I had a lot of good memories. It was a very magical year. This is one of the few tours that I've been to in the past 10 years where every night they surprised me with at least something. Even when I went to the Mississippi show, I mean, they played Pig, and I wasn't expecting that in Mississippi, even though the rest of the show was kind of flat. I mean, we still got, Pig in middle of nowhere, Mississippi. So I was really pleased with that. But the key word of this year is probably was spontaneity. I felt like the band really put a lot of effort into jazzing up the set list compared to previous years. I felt like the band kind of, was going through like maybe a second or third renaissance or hitting another peak, especially for the Buddy Strong era. This is definitely a peak year for the Buddy Strong era, with 2018 being, I don't like to be negative when it comes to the band, but 2018 was pretty abysmal. And this was, a complete 180 from 2018. So I was very, very, very pleased. Every show that I went to this year, I got at least one surprise. So I was really excited about that for this year.
Yeah, and congratulations, Big Dog got married as well.
Yes, sir. I got
18
married.
DMB shows plus a wedding.
Honeymoon, 10-day honeymoon.
10-day honeymoon. So you was all over. And what was your favorite show of the year?
Set list wise, probably Gorge Night 2. Gorge Night 2, probably set list wise. Fun wise, Deer Creek Night 2.
Okay.
I was
Were you
Go
at
ahead.
the gorge this year?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, you. Oh, how can I not forget you?
Yeah.
You had a lot of stuff. So
I was
gorge
wearing
night
the same
2.
clothes 3 days in a row.
Now you were at SPAC night 1 and gorge night 2, right?
I did everything. I did SPAC, Deer Creek,
So
and Gorge.
I want to be careful because again, and I fully admit I was not at the gorge this year, and that could have impacted it. What made from a set list perspective that gorge night 2 better than SPAC night 1 in your eyes?
I think the Stone Fake Bartender, Big Eye Fish Stone trifecta, whatever they did that night was really cool.
Okay.
And then the 3 covers they did was pretty cool. That Just Breathe, who saw that coming?
Yes.
Nobody saw that coming. And it wasn't at the show. No, night 1 was Molly Tuttle, right?
Yes.
Night 1. So night 2, who were the guests night 2?
Let me pull that up.
I don't remember out of the top of my head, but I really liked the night 2. But the highlight song for me though was Gorge Night 1, Walk Around the Moon. That's the song that I revisit a lot this year. Was the
Really?
walk, because it had that one off stop time intro.
Oh yeah, that started in at Yamava.
Yeah,
That casino show was when it started. The da, da, da,
yeah,
da, da, da,
yeah. And
da.
so I was kind of hoping they would grow on that.
Yep.
That was a really cool. But yeah, I think Gorge Night 2, and like I think that's what Joyride, Help
Yeah.
Myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a very, very, very spectacular weekend. But I really have nothing negative to say about the band this year. Like, they really surprised, especially that winter tour. I show up in Savannah, not expecting. I was expecting another Mississippi type set list, and we get Say Goodbye, Maker opener. I mean, just bangers. So I was really pleased with every show that I saw this fall as well. And
Gotcha.
the posters this year were pretty good too.
Yeah, we'll have to. I'll see if we can get a poster thing for beginning of this year, of 2024 to look back. Joe Lawler was on Rhyme and Reason for night 2, but that was the only guest. Very interesting that that was the only guest. But again, you have so many powerful songs, which is my argument. Is I always say now. Seeing Bella Fleck at SPAC Night 2 was phenomenal. But my favorite
You think so?
show, huh?
You think so?
At SPAC Night 2?
Yeah, I was kind of, like I said, I don't like to be negative, but I was kind of disappointed. I felt like the mix was all out of whack.
I'll say, but this is where, and that's part of why SPAC Night 1's better. One possible area of improvement for the band is to utilize your guests. Don't Drink the Water was abysmal because you had a moment where you could have had that banjo being more heard in the mix, and they essentially just played over him.
Yeah, which was
Space,
bizarre because in '98, Tim was there in '98 in the winter
yeah,
when Bella was making all those appearances, and it sounds
right,
great. So I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know if they didn't have time to sound check it or
Yeah, it could be. It could have been.
yeah.
It's hard to hop in and do all that stuff. And I don't know. I've played in this is not even close to what they do, but I've similarly played in a 3,000 person venue myself, and been buried in the mix as someone who sat in. And as far as I've been doing some gospel church stuff, and I sat in this summer, and it was like you could not hear me. So and that was my first time really dealing with a venue that had a decent size. But long story short, it is hard. But one area of improvement I think we could talk about is utilizing Bela in the right. Like, I don't think they should have played Spaceman. I don't think they should have played. Or they should have played Don't Drink with him turned up. But they should have played something. Well, they played Two Step the Night Before, but they could have done another song, another classic with him. 41. I don't think they played 41 that
No.
entire. So like having him in 41 or something like, and I think Corey Wong, who was so humble and gracious, and Corey studied. I think this is where if they're gonna have guests, they need to really, whether it's Rashawn or Dave, Corey Wong studied this band. He grew up with Dave Matthews. At some point in his life, I think it was like a teenager, he started listening to Dave, going to shows. Corey did the exact, he studied for that performance. And he talked to Ari about that. I think the band should have let him do a little more of his rhythm guitar and allow it. And again, it could have just been a mix issue. Bringing up, carting in an amp and all that. It can be tough. Live audio is hard. But I thought it was a missed opportunity there. So I think that's one thing with the guests. They could fit him better. I thought Mark Whitfield was great in Captain, though. I will say that. That was a great guest spot. But it
I
took,
love Captain.
huh?
I love that Captain.
Yeah. And to be fair, last year I thought Cornbread wasn't the best song for for Mark. So I think sometimes it takes a couple sit-ins for them to get that audio right and mix in. And then Mark has come and gone. He's a New York based, but he goes across the world. So I thought the Mark Whitfield, him being heard was the best at his MSG. He's been at a couple MSG shows, I think 3 or 4 now, and that was his best. So perhaps it's just it's an issue with getting the audio right. It's a challenge, but anyway, I say all that to say that some of the best shows to me are ones like how you said Gorge Night 2, all the stuff. You just had Lawler. Lawler's all, he's almost like a part of the band on
Yeah, I was kind of shocked that he didn't show up at Seville.
Right. He had played the night before, night 0, in the Jefferson, right, auditorium or theater.
Yeah, I went to that show as well.
Yeah, that was I think that's a shock. And then because even to have, I mean, you had Trombone Shorty, but they could, I mean, you could always add in Lawler and do a rhyme and reason. That's an easy add. So yeah, it was shocking. But yeah, I think even there's always talk. This is the time of year where everyone's like thinking about DMB topics, like what covers you want to hear. And I think Just Breathe. I know you're a Pearl Jam fan. That was a special, like this night. I get it. Jimmy Buffett passed. He played songs for him that he thought, but I think overall these covers can be good. I like Fool in the Rain. And I love some of the covers over the years. Some I've missed, like Don't Fear the Reaper. But I just think overall the band covering its catalog is always going to reign supreme. I get that people hear a song and they want the band to cover it. I just don't personally want that cover. Like I said, there's some stuff they can pull out the catalog. And when they've done the best parts of the year are when they do that. American Baby intro this year. Shotgun in the last couple years has come back, and we've seen Captain float around a little bit and Spoon. I mean, that's really what it's about to me. So any other final thoughts?
Like if they're going to do covers, I would like them to do like in the format. If you go back and look at the 2008 tour, like I think they did like maybe 10, 12 covers that year, but they weren't playing them like every single night. Mm-hmm. Like they were spacing out the cover. Like they had Hey Hey My, they had Money, they had Sledgehammer to name some and a few others, but they just weren't playing them out. They had a big spread. Like they decided that year that like we're going to do covers, but we're going to do like a lot of different covers. Yeah. So I don't mind when they like do like one-offs, but I don't want to see like Fool in the Rain like 7 out of 8 shows or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't mind Fool in the Rain. It's not a bad tune. But I prefer DMB over DMB cover band for sure.
Yeah. And they're a band that has such a great, and I push this for, I know you're not into Goose, but like, and I know their covers are fun, but like I would rather Goose play Goose. There's some bands that whether they have a short catalog, Dave for years didn't have as many songs that could captivate a crowd. He was experimenting with stuff, and he plays Angel from Montgomery. He plays a Watchtower cover, and that gets you fans at a Dead show when you're opening up. But this band, like, they have so much music, and they even know it, because guess what they did this year? They cut back to new album stuff. They're like, wait, we got so many albums, we got to cut it back. Cover your catalog. That's another thing I hope for this year. Still great year. Still great.
Awesome year. I was very pleased, and I'm looking forward to 2024 for sure.
Yeah, so hopefully they cover Trouble, Full Band Dodo, A Dream So Real, Toy So, all
Up
that.
and away. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, all that stuff. That's
Yeah.
gems. But thank you so much for being on, John, and we'll definitely reconnect soon.
See you in 2024.
All right, take care. Peace. All right, guys. Again, this has been a great year. I think I've really found a balance. As you guys see, I try to highlight the positive, but I also try to be honest. That's kind of something I've always stood on and I try to be respectful. I understand what DMB does is hard. Playing every year, touring every year. Speaking of Pearl Jam, they're actually going to tour. Hey, let's give Pearl Jam a hand. They're actually going to play. I heard there's like multiple MSG shows next year, rumored. Let's give Pearl Jam a hand for actually not being lazy. Oh, because I may actually see Pearl Jam next year because they're actually doing more than 3 shows. Maybe, hopefully, none of the shows get postponed again, but I'll see it when I believe it. But anyway, it has been so much fun to give you guys the multi-cams, to do the post-show streams, and really just let you guys speak on these shows that you went to. That's been the most important thing for me is to balance out, not be too over the top negative, but not be honest, and then give you guys your perspective. I think one of the things I always say, I don't believe in echo chambers. If you guys like something that I don't like, that's fine. You like Bayou, that's fine. Tell me why. But thank you guys so much for everything. There's so many people that have become like family over the last couple of years. And you'll see some of the clips of this, which is funny. Some of you guys have met my family. My wife was out on tour this year with me for a couple of shows. You guys met her, and then some of my friends are friends with some of my new friends, and my friends and my friends and my friends. And the more we get together, the happier we'll be. But again, thank you guys so much for the support. I do want to just close this out with the video. Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a end of the year thank you video to close out the stream. And also, speaking of I think it was the DTE show, the Clarkston, Michigan show. Just a rest in peace to the Savage Sheba. We want to say rest in peace to her. I had heard that she passed away. There was articles and reports on that, and that was a critical taper in person in the DMB community. My first Gorge run, Sabbath Sheba channel had everything there. That from the Gorge, all the highlights. So just rest in peace, and rest in peace to anyone in the DMB community that has passed away, anyone who's lost loved ones, family, friends. It can be hard this time of year as you reflect on current losses or losses from throughout this year, or even people who are gone from years ago that used to go to these shows that got you into music, maybe not even DMB, but helped you to get that love of music. Teachers, mentors, family, and friends. And again, I hope and pray everyone has a happy new year. Life is tough. I hope these streams bring you joy, bring you a sense of community. And I hope I have some things scheduled for 2024, and hopefully some things slide through as planned. And there's going to be some great things coming from this channel in 2024. In the meanwhile, let me play this outro. Let me shut up, play this outro, and then I'll see you guys next year. Happy New Year. Take care. Peace, love, and DMB. It's your boy Concert Viz 34 back at home. What up? What up? It's your boy Concert Viz 34.
Yep, so your boy Concert Viz 34 coming to you here.
What up? What up? It's your boy Concert Viz 34. Aria. Okay, so this is Aria, and just tell us a little bit about yourself and about your love for the Dave Matthews Band.
I've been a fan of the band since April 28, 1998. And if you recognize the date, that's when Before These Crowded Streets was released.
Hey, Marcus.
How's it going, Luke? Tell us about this show.
Oh, my bad. I'm still on the lawn. I'm waiting for the encore. It's been a pretty long encore break, don't you think? I'm just playing.
Well played. Yeah.
And I got started, in my opinion, I feel like I got started late. Like I was at the very end of the band's prime. I feel like that 03 to 06 was like the end of the prime. 07, 08 was like, you know, we're at the very end. And then when Roy passed.
But Dave really, this is the thing. Dave has put, where Sean has been assigned the quarterback of this team. He is the coach, the play caller. He designs the jams. Dave just shows up and plays whatever he's going to play. About this, the naval yard is called the Portsmouth Naval Yard. It's not in Portsmouth, it's in Kittery, Maine. In Norfolk, Virginia, they have in Portsmouth, Virginia, there's a Norfolk Naval Yard. It's in Portsmouth. So instead of naming the naval yard that's in Portsmouth the Portsmouth Naval Yard, they named
Hazard reported ahead on I-95 north in half a mile. You're still on the fastest route.
But anyway, it's a disaster. Look at me. I'm the captain now. I am the captain now. Captain Reprise coming. We're going to get the Captain Reprise. Look out for it.
Can't stop. That girl is you.
Yeah, Captain. If I catch you out tonight, maybe I'll cut you off. Maybe I'll slash your tires. Cause I had to ride away.
We don't want Where do you want to go? All the way up?
Yeah. I hate mass drivers. Won't you use your blinker? Keep going up. I hate mass drivers. You can't drive anywhere, and your roads suck. I hate mass drivers. All right, so what's the consensus, guys, about this pizza?
Good pizza.
So good.
Good pizza.
So good. Delicious.
What makes it good?
Flavor,
Crispy.
consistency.
Crispy crust.
right amount of cheese, good fresh toppings, excellent company. The waitress has the best accent ever.
So you heard it here first. Best pizza in the country. Oh, this is. All right, guys. Well, that is pretty much it. I did want to we talked about cha cha and straight shot, but these were two great surprises throughout the year that just put just added to the fact that this band can bring stuff from the vault. These were older songs they brought back. They didn't make Come Tomorrow, and that's okay. And I think that's one thing that I've learned is that it's okay if a song doesn't make an album. The live versions of Cha Cha and Straight Shot have promise. Cha Cha has an acoustic based lead. Straight Shot has a power and depth to it that some of the happy go lucky songs of uh, Post Away from the World have kind of had and don't land as well. So we'll see what happens next year. But that's all I got for tonight. Peace. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you soon.